So I'm embracing imperfect.
All right, this is the first episode of Embracing Imperfect. And I have just sat in this chair for 10 minutes trying to figure out what I'm going to say to start off this show. And it goes against my philosophy as a musician and an artist. And, philosophy is a bit of a wanky word, but it's kind of true. Okay, let's get this out of the way straight away. Most of the music that I put out into the world is like a public therapy session. So this is an extension of that. And the show name, Embracing Imperfect, obviously it's one of the songs that I've released and I've talked about it in the past and we'll go into it in this show as well, why that's important to me. But I spent the last 10 to 15 minutes, maybe, let's be honest, a little longer, thinking about how I'm going to start this show, trying to get the intro right. I'll be like, hey, what's up, guys? This is Pace Randolph, and this is the show. Or welcome to the first show. And I don't know how to do it. So this is it. This is me just admitting that I have overthought this section of the show, and I'm going to I'm going to take my own medicine, whatever it is. I'm going to embrace imperfect. There you go. That's nice and cheesy. And let's just get it underway because I'm paying for this studio time, unfortunately. I'm on the run at the moment. So I don't know where you're listening in the world, but currently Sydney has gone into the second big lockdown of its COVID career. And I kind of had a feeling that it might be coming. So I escaped to the countryside. And I've been staying with some friends. Shout out to Declan and Chev. I stayed on a farm for a few days. Now I'm staying with the wonderful McDonald family. I'm not sure if they will ever listen to this, but if they do, thank you guys. Appreciate it so much. Basically, I'm on the run because I don't want to be locked down. I feel very bad for everybody who is currently in a lockdown situation. So I got out of Sydney, and as fate would have it, I ended up in a part of the country which is called the Hunter region, the Hunter Valley. And this is significant because, and it's the title of this episode is Fields of Gold. And the reason that is significant is because I went to a concert. I think I might have been maybe 20 years old, maybe 19 years old. I can't remember. And it was a concert. It was Sting, so Sting and the Police, Sting, and the Sydney Symphony Orchestra at the Hope Wine Estate. And that is a winery. The Hunter Valley region is a wine region northwest of Sydney in Australia. And there was this concert, and it was Sting and the Sydney Symphony Orchestra at the Hope Wine Estate. And this concert changed my life. And that's not an understatement. That literally, okay, let's go through this. So at the time, I had just come out off the back of basically my first real attempt at making it in the music industry with a band that I was in from high school called Jade Monkey. We really tried. We were grinding. We were making videos for YouTube. We were playing shows every single week. We were hold on, I'm just going to check if this is recording. Yeah, we're all good. We're playing shows every week. We were on all the forums and message boards being hey, check out our music, blah, blah, blah. We recorded 2 EPs. I think the first one was pretty good. The first EP we put out was called Smile. I think the second one was a little bit rushed, and I think that we just got 7 songs together and recorded them without being is this song actually good enough to be recorded? But anyway, long story short, it was at the tail end of my experience with Jade Monkey, and maybe I'll do an episode where I talk about that band and I'll go through the music, because I'm sure a lot of you, in fact 99% of you, won't have heard the music that I played before I started the Pace Randolph project. So it was at the end of that, and I'd kind of almost given up on the idea of pursuing music, and I was playing a lot of video games. I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft. Now that sounds rather lame. It is, and it was the best game ever. And I spent way too much time playing that game. I used to play it. I was I don't know if anyone listening has played the game before, but there's kind of 2 ways you can play the game. You can play against the computer, or you can play against other people, and you can go around trying killing other people. I spent a lot of time going around trying to kill other people. And it was a way for me to I guess, lose myself in this game where I could convince myself that I was being productive or doing something. But the reality is, like, I was wasting my time. And I knew that. And it combined with the fact that I thought my music career was over. 20 years old, thought my career was over. The things that young people convince themselves of is crazy. The time frame, the time pressure that we put us on top of ourselves is ridiculous. But anyway, this is the situation. And just so happened that I was able to get a ticket to come and see Sting play this gig. And Sting is one of my mum's favorite artists. As a kid, I always grew up listening to his music. Actually, more so like the post-Police music rather than, so like his music post-Police, so like his solo stuff. And I've been hugely influenced by his like songwriting and his, the way that he's conducted himself as a musician, I think is for me like the ideal career. Because sure, he was in a band and they were super famous and like all the rest of it. But as an as a solo artist after that, he's been constantly touring, constantly releasing music, always working with the best musicians. Like his band is always full of like the top musicians. And for me, that's like the gold standard. Like he's in his 60s now. He's obviously, COVID aside, like touring every single year for months of the year, reinventing his songs. And like for me, that is like the ideal career. Never like resting on your laurels and just doing like the comeback tour and all that sort of stuff. So he's been a huge inspiration for me. And I went to this concert. It was at a winery in the Hunter Valley, as I said before. And it was like a summer evening, like hot, like 35 degrees or something like that. Sun was setting, beautiful like wine estate, like massive outdoor concert. And I was completely blown away. I hadn't realized that there could be like this level of like musical experience. I've been to concerts, like I've been to a lot of rock concerts and like, some of my favorite gigs are like the small dingy shows. Like I remember my first ever show was a band called Less Than Jake. And it was like a tiny little concert, maybe a couple hundred people in Sydney. And, I loved those shows, but this was like another level, like the orchestration, the effort that went into rewriting the music with the symphony orchestra. His voice was just like perfect, note perfect the whole time, like 2+ hours. Anyway, I'm getting stuck into the weeds here because like, I guess you can tell that I'm like passionate about this, but there was at one point and I mentioned the video games for a reason. There was one point, and it was during the song Fields of Gold. And it's like, you remember me, I'm on the fields of barley. I'm sure you guys know that song or will have heard that song. And they were playing this song, this like beautiful like symphonic rendition of the song. And I just started crying. And I started crying because I was like, I think I'd realized that like this is what I was giving up on. I was giving up on the ability to create these moments, not for myself necessarily, but for other people. For me being in the crowd, having this like wave after wave of just emotion and like euphoria because of the musical experience that I was a part of. And I realized that by giving up on music, I was giving up on my opportunity to provide that, I guess, for myself and for the world and be a part of that. And I was just bawling my eyes out because it was so beautiful. And like I come from a family, typical like British. I grew up in London, and my family is British, and we moved to Australia. But like typical, like you don't show your emotions really. I've never seen my parents. I've seen my mum cry, I guess, but like I never seen my dad cry, and it's not like something that is. It's never been encouraged. Let's put it that way. So for me to be like sitting there openly crying was like a big thing. Like I can count the number of times that I've cried on my fingers over like the past 10 years, that kind of thing. And I'm not proud of that, and I'm trying to work on that, and I'm trying to allow myself to cry when I watch movies and stuff like that now, because I think it's super toxic to be like, no, don't cry, like keep it in. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, for me to be just sitting there crying and being like, I need this. This has to be my life. I have to do everything that I can to have this in my life because like there's no other experience like this. And so it was that moment where I was like, I quit. I quit computer games. During the song, I was like, I quit computer games. I'm never playing it again. I'm gonna uninstall them, whatever. And I have to make this my life. I have to figure out a way to be on that stage singing songs to give people this experience. And I remember like getting in the car after the show, and I was there with my mom and my dad because obviously they're huge fans. And my mom was like, "Did you enjoy the concert?" And I was like, "That was life-changing." Like literally that was life-changing. And that day I put a reminder in my phone to go off every single afternoon. I just had it come up just before on my computer. And the reminder is just Fields of Gold. Comes up on my phone every single day. And I've had friends of mine who are like, "What is that? What is that?" Like it keeps coming up. And I'm like, "Oh, it's just a thing like I reminding myself to do." But the reality is it's a thing, it's a reminder that has been in my phone for the last I don't know how many years. And it just reminds me every single day, like, remember that moment? Remember that moment where you broke down and cried watching the most beautiful thing you've ever seen and made the decision to get rid of the distractions and focus on the thing that is going to give you the opportunity to provide these moments for other people moving forward. And to this day, as I said, I get that reminder every single day. And it's just a reminder, like every day, do something. Push the boat just towards that goal in some way every single day. And some days it comes up and I just sort of like bat it aside. But other days I look at it and I'm like, yep, I'm doing it. I'm still doing it. And I guess that was when I really started to be like, I need to take this seriously. And I don't know whether I should get into that whole, the story post that. Now, actually, fuck it. We're going to do it. So at that point, like, I was just finishing, I was like in my last year at uni or something like that, because I went to uni because I thought that was the thing I had to do because, like, if I wasn't going to do music, I had to get a real job. I got a job doing recruitment consultancy and like HR consultancy. I did that for like a year and a half, and to say that I hated it is like, there are worse jobs. I've done a lot of worse jobs. In fact, since then, I've done worse jobs. Not maybe worse, but like harder. But I hated where my life was going. I hated where I could see, like, if I did this job well for 10 years, I'd be where that guy is, and I hate that guy's life. And it's nothing against these people. That works for them. But for me, I was like, that was depressing me. I remember waking up, working full time and waking up, and literally the first thing that I remember thinking when I opened my eyes, or when I woke up, my eyes hadn't even opened yet, was just this huge screaming fuck in my head. It was just like, fuck, not again. And it was like, that was starting to terrify me, where I was waking up every day on a weekday just being like, not again. I can't do this again. And it's like the biggest like first world problem, right? You got like a half decent job, you're getting paid a decent salary, and you're just so miserable, and you're just terrified of the fact that this is it for the rest of your life. So I made the decision that in order to like get away from it and try to reset and like, to live by my, agreement to myself, Fields of Gold every single day, the reminder, I had to leave the country and try and reset, just like hard reset, because, some people are able to do this in the city that they grew up in, surrounded by the same friends and all the rest of it. I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have the mental strength to just like turn around to all my friends that have known me since high school or whatever, and turn around to my family and all those sort of surrounding influences in your life and just be like, no, are we still going? We're still going. And be like, no, I don't, whatever you expect of me and whatever I've expected of myself in the past, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm a musician. I want to pursue this regardless of whether it's like, being a musician is like the lowest chance of success. Sure, maybe there's like being a footballer, like a professional footballer or something might be lower, but I don't know. I think being a musician, like an independent musician, is like got to be one of the dumbest things you could try and do, but it's super rewarding at the same time. Anyway, I didn't have the strength to turn around and say, no, I give up on the mainstream life. I'm going to pursue this. I didn't have the strength to do that in my current situation. So what I had to do for myself was to leave. And I got a one-way ticket. I remember talking to my boss and I was like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I've bought a one-way ticket to Spain. It's in 6 months. I chose Spain because I wanted to learn Spanish. And I was like, if I'm going to go anywhere, I may as well try and learn Spanish and find myself overseas. It's true. Kids and adults, it does work. So I was like, yeah, I'm going. So I'll give you 6 months. I'll phase myself out of the business. And then I left. And that was really the moment where I had committed. I was all in on music. I was all in on just following the road wherever it would take me. Up until that point, I'd always tried to plan ahead and all right, I get this degree and get this job and do that. And then in 5 years' time, I'll have this and this and that. And then from that point on, I was like, nah, I'm going to be present as often as I can be. I'm going to put myself in positions where I can react to situations and react to opportunities. So I went overseas, one-way ticket, and I sat in my bedroom in Spain in a house full of Spanish people. Couldn't speak a word. I could speak a bit of Spanish. I'd done a couple of semesters of it, but I was studying Spanish full time, and I was sitting in my bedroom because I had no friends, and I was just watching YouTube videos on how to produce music because I was like, all right, I don't have a record label. I don't have a band anymore. I don't have enough money to pay someone to record for me, so I'm going to have to learn how to do it myself. And I spent 3-4 months in Spain just teaching myself how to use Logic, teaching myself how to use Ableton. These are the production software, music production software. And then I remember visiting my friend Yannick in Paris. And I was going to stay there for a month, watch the European Cup, which happens to be on at the moment. Again, another nice little full circle moment. The European Football Cup, it was on in France. So I was there visiting my friend. And I had this opportunity to play a concert. Another dear friend of mine now, who at the time I just met, excuse me, it's like a yawn burp kind of thing. I got paid out yesterday for. I often do my excrements in my bodily excrements in one go. So it'll be a cough burp or a sneeze and a burp at the same time, or a yawn and a hiccup, or a hiccup and a burp. I feel like I'm about efficiency when it comes to excrements. Sorry about that. Yes, my now friend Will, who I ended up moving in with, shared an apartment with, but I met this guy, an American guy, Will Cox, and he put on this show and it was art, and he gutted his entire apartment. This is in Paris. I just moved there. I was just traveling through there. I was like, I've got these 2 songs I've been working on in my bedroom in Spain. I'm trying to do this thing as an independent solo artist. And he was like, all right, I'm putting on this show in a week's time where taking all the furniture out of his apartment, putting art from painters and stuff all around the walls and photographers. And he was putting on some poets and was putting on some musicians as a show. And it was a party as well. And he's like, I want you to play. And I want you to play. You got 2 songs. That's perfect. Just do a 2-song set. And I was like, oh shit, this is it. Coming to a new city, I've been given an opportunity here. There's going to be a whole bunch of people there. This is my opportunity to showcase what I've been working on. And I remember I broke my hand, maybe another time I'll tell this story, but I broke my hand a couple of days before the show and I couldn't play guitar. So my best friend Yannick, who's the guy that I was visiting in Paris, I was like, Yannick, can you play the guitar? I'll play keyboard one hand and we'll do the show. And so I show up to this apartment party, and eventually comes my time to play the show. And there's the apartment is packed full of people. I've played a couple of house party shows before in high school and stuff, and those shows were always awesome because you'd get 50 people in a living room, and it's just jam packed like sardines. And it was that moment. There was maybe 100 people at this party, all packed into the room. And I started playing, and the first opening chords came out of the song, and it was no other live performance experience I had ever had up until that point. Still to this day, it's probably the thing that gets my heart going the most, thinking about how amazing that energy was in that room, because all of a sudden, like, the whole room was like vibing with me and bopping, and I started singing, and I was singing in a way, in a style that I never sung before publicly, because I was in this rock band before, and now I was doing this more like soul kind of thing. And that concert, two songs went so well, and I remember feeling like on top of the world at that moment. And there was someone at that party who was, he was involved in artist management, became a very good friend of mine, Stephen Munson. Love you so much. And he came up to me after the show and was like, "Hey, what's your name? Like, what are you doing?" Like, that was fucking unreal. Like, loved it so much. Here's my email address. Here's my number. Like, let's chat. And that at that point, I was like, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me. I've found people that can give me opportunities. I've found an environment that loves the music that I'm making. Because up until then, like, I've been playing in rooms to like a few people as a band showing up, and there's like more people in the band than there are in the in the audience. And I'm sure many people have been in that situation. But like, after a while, it gets pretty disheartening. And I've played shows like that since. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm luckily now at a point where it's hopefully that never happens again. But yeah, it's not great. So to have this moment where I was like, this could work. Like, after I'd already given up on music, this might be my second shot. And I decided to stay there. I decided to stay in Paris, and I lived there for what ended up being 3 years. And I was like trying to make it work. I was working 3 jobs. I was doing like a bit of translation with the Spanish to English thing. I was working as a carpenter's assistant. Shout out to Joss, the Geordie carpenter who just happened to live in Paris, who took me under his wing and gave me work at that time. I was also working at the bar next to my apartment, which is where I learned how to speak French. So I'm super grateful for that. But I was working hard, not making much money, poor as hell, eating a lot of potatoes. Now I fucking love potatoes. They saved my life. I get these like massive, like 5-10 kilo bags of potatoes and just like power through those most days. But yeah, that was like the period of my life. And I think every artist has to go through this, like, and I've heard it described as the valley of despair. So you're like, there's the optimism, and then you go through the valley of despair, and then you actually like learn all the skills you need during that time, and then you come out on top, and then there's like the growth on the other side. And that was my valley of despair. I was working to try and get into the music industry, like trying to get into the room in terms of songwriting, doing a couple of things here and there, but nothing was taking off. I was playing shows, but again, like, foreigner in a foreign city, in a big city, like, sure, people were liking my music, but I honestly wasn't that good. And I was in my head, tying back to this whole thing about embracing imperfect, I was in my head so much about the fact that if I was going to release music, it had to change my life. I released my first song or my first couple of songs, and I was like, all right, I need to get signed from this moment. Otherwise, if I don't, like, what do I do? I'm a failure. If I don't get signed from my first thing, all right, maybe it'll be my second thing. Like, they see my first thing, and then like, all right, what's he got next? All right, this guy's the next, I don't know, Ed Sheeran or whatever. And I spent years, what ended up being years, kind of stagnating. I would release a couple of songs, and then literally nothing changed. Like, a couple of people liked it, and I had a bit of support from friends and stuff like that. But really, outside of that, I wasn't growing my fan base in any way. And I don't like to use the word fan base, but I wasn't growing my audience in any significant way. And that's because I was terrified. I was terrified of putting stuff out there. I was terrified of the judgment. What I should have been doing, which is what I've learned subsequently, is just like, make a song, put it out there. Make another song, put it out there. Actually get the skill up, get the repetitions in, and like, keep showing up on camera, keep showing up on social media. Give people something to follow rather than just one of the things that really changed for me is that a lot of musicians, myself included, were asking people of the audience. So I would release a song and I'd be like, hey, everyone, please come and listen, help me. I was asking for them to listen to my song. Whereas what you should be doing as a performer, as an entertainer, as an artist, is entertaining. You should be giving. Your job is to give their job is to, I suppose, take rather than don't ask the audience to give stuff. So I was asking my friends and like my extended network to listen to me, and I hadn't given them anything. And by that, I mean I hadn't given them 30 videos, 30 little songs or little clips or, TikTok style videos or like photos or whatever it may be. I hadn't given them any entertainment. So why then would they turn around and give me their time? Because it is their time. Like I see so many like independent artists be like, hey, help and support me. Please listen to this. Please add it to a playlist and all that sort of stuff. And that's fine. Like you got to sell yourself to some degree, but like people don't owe you shit, and people have their own lives. There's so many people competing for their attention. So many other artists who are giving them updates, giving them entertaining little things along the way, so that then when the song does come out, maybe there's a little bit of goodwill there and they might be like, yeah, I'll give it a listen. I've been entertained by this person for the last 2 months, just random crappy or funny videos on Instagram. Not funny, but like, entertaining videos on Instagram or TikTok. Yeah, I am invested, and I do want to then give them back with my attention, and I'll go and listen to the song, and maybe I'll add it to a playlist if they ask me to. But like that whole time in Paris, I was asking and not giving a whole lot, and I think a lot of people are in that trap. Your job is to give, and I gave up. No, I didn't give up. That's maybe too harsh, but I gave up on Paris. I gave up on living there. I was like, I'm so poor. I was selling my instruments to pay my rent. And like, that's my problem. There are ways to make money. And I was trying to focus so much on music that I was like foregoing opportunities to maybe pick up more shifts in the bar or something like that. But I was trying to make it work as a musician, and it wasn't. So I was like, I'm depressed here. I went through a breakup, and I was depressed about my place in the world. I was depressed about the fact that nothing was working. The thing that I'd gone across the world to pursue, I was failing at that, and I was failing miserably, and I wasn't growing. And that is a dark place to be like basically like poor and unsuccessful in your 20s is like, you're supposed to do that, dude, but it's still a hard place to be. So I came back to Sydney, and this was just before the lockdown. And everything changed for me when the lockdown hit. And I don't want to be grateful for something that's hurt so many people and, killed people and impacted our lives in various ways. And obviously in Australia, we've been super, super, super fortunate compared to the rest of the world. I try not to take that for granted, but it was something that changed my life for the better, I think. I was in a position where I was basically given permission to do nothing but music, no social obligations, no, like I didn't have to try and plan shows because I couldn't. All I had to do was figure out a way to entertain people and grow my music online using social media. And I remember watching a Gary Vee video. And Gary Vee, some of you may know who he is, some of you won't, but like everyone at some point, if you've opened up YouTube or whatever, will have been served a Gary Vee video. He's just everywhere. And for whatever reason, it was the right time, right place for me. Hold on. Just have a cheeky little drink, getting a bit dry. Yeah, it was the right video at the right time, the right place, delivered by the right person. Boom. And this video was all about decision making. And I remember the video is him being asked, like, someone asked him a question, like, how do you know when you've made the right decision? Or like, how do you get better at making decisions? And he was just like, to summarize, the great Gary Vee, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was basically like, you will never, ever get close to making the right decision. You don't have the information you need to make the right decision. All you can do is do your best with the information that you have at that time and then move on, because there's the only thing worse than making the wrong decision is making no decision. And like, that's not going to apply for every situation, but like by and large, we get so caught up in making the right decision that we don't make any decision, and years go by. And that's, and that's in the song, Embracing Imperfect. I say, like, that's how years of life go by, overthinking, asking why. Like, No one told me time could fly when each decision takes all night. And it's like, that was really my lived experience. And in this video, he's like, you're not going to make the right decision. So just make a decision so that tomorrow you can make another decision. And you get better at making decisions because you get faster at making decisions. And don't judge yourself for wrong decisions because you did the best you could at the time with the information that you had. And like, for whatever reason, he says it in a much more succinct and eloquent way than I could, because he's obviously been doing this for a long time. But he was just like, get it 80% of the way there. Whatever you're doing, whatever decision you're making, get it 80% of the way there, and then pull the trigger, move on, make another decision. And I realized that I wasn't doing that in my music. I was expecting to make the right decision every single time. So it got me thinking, like, all right, how can I implement this? How can I start implementing this in my real life? And I realized that I was always terrified of putting music out into the world because I wanted it to be perfect. So as a way of like challenging myself, I set myself the challenge of writing a song every single day, writing a song and posting it on TikTok and my Instagram stories. Now, TikTok at that time, early lockdown, was like kind of blowing up. I know there were people who were on it before me, but it was still relatively early days. And I felt like I had a free pass on TikTok. Ooh, sorry, burping into the microphone. Sucked in. I felt like you had a free pass on TikTok, or you still do. Because on Instagram, like, your friends are on Instagram and they're looking at you. And if you like start posting songs and they're not great or whatever, they're going to be judging you. And I know that we're not supposed to care about what people think, but we do. And I'm getting better at it. I'm better at it now. But at the time, like, I wasn't great at it. So TikTok was this free hit because you post stuff on TikTok. I didn't tell anyone that I had a TikTok account. I literally didn't tell any of my friends until I had like a few thousand followers. And even then I like kept it pretty hush hush. I was just writing a song every day, filming a, phone camera out. And then eventually I bought a better quality camera. But now I've gone back to my phone camera because it doesn't matter what the camera quality is on TikTok or like on social media in general. I'm recording this with my phone. Anyway, yeah. Film a video of me playing a song every single day, a song that I'd written every single day. And I would just post that on TikTok because on TikTok, it just goes out into the world. And if it's a good video, people will see it. If it's a bad video, no one sees it, which is like the crazy thing. Like, you psych yourself out because like, oh, I don't want to post this because it's bad. No one's going to like it. No one sees it. That's the genius of TikTok. No one sees your bad videos because they don't perform well. So they only get sent to like a couple hundred people, if that. Like, so like that's a lesson. Like, don't worry about posting a shit video on TikTok. And this is a lesson for myself still as much as anybody else, even though I've been posting quite a lot on there. Like, it doesn't matter if your video flops because it flopped and no one saw it. Think about that. People only see your best stuff on TikTok, which is the best thing. Anyway, I started posting a video every single day on TikTok, and I got into the habit of just, I got to post a song. All right, I got to write it quickly. Okay, this will do. I can't perfect it because I don't have, all week to write this song. So I got to have something to show by the end of the day. Some days I was up till like, late at night trying to finish it off, but I did it. I finished the song every single day, posted it on TikTok. And all of a sudden, like 100 people saw my song. 200 people saw one of my songs. I get comments like, oh, hey, I really like this song, or I love this lyrics, or I love your voice, from complete strangers. And up until that point in my music career, my music had never really broken outside of my friend group and extended friend group. So this was complete strangers listening to my music for the first time and liking it and enjoying it and seeing what I was doing and being like, oh, I love that you write a song every day, like can't wait for tomorrow. And it just started like all the things started to come into place. And I was like, I have been doing this wrong the whole time. I've been trying to get it right. I've been trying to do it perfect. I can't even talk. I've been trying to do the perfect thing for years. Now, if I just do something every single day, people are going to like it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Someone's going to love that song that's just a demo of you, that you made up in 5 minutes. Someone out there is going to love it, and you just have to give them the opportunity to see it, and they're never going to see it if you keep it to yourself. Anyway, long story short, I did that for about 2 months. 55 to 60 songs came out of that period, writing a song every single day. And by that time, I was in the habit of doing something every single day, turning up, making content, posting videos every day. I was growing. Maybe I had 1,000 followers. Maybe I had a little bit more on TikTok by that point. Still like relatively small numbers, but for me it was significant because it was the first time I was seeing like consistent growth and I was in control. And this is the thing, like when you put pressure on yourself to make something perfect, what you're doing is you're putting the importance of the project, of the release, you're putting the significance on the reaction, because you're like, if it's perfect, then I'll get the reaction that I want. Whereas if you flip that and if you say, the important thing is that I get my song done for the day and post it, because that is the goal, because tomorrow I got to do another one. It means that you're not thinking about the reaction. I'm not thinking, I hope this video performs well. I'm like, I got to get this video done because I got to do another one tomorrow. And like, this video has to be out today because that's my goal. And you're changing the goal from something that you can't control, i.e. the reaction, to something you can control, i.e. the completion of the task. And that is a monumental shift for me. And I encourage anyone to try and do the same thing, working in a creative field, in any field. Change the goal to something. Look at how you're actually judging your success on a day-to-day level and try to change it to something that you can control. Because I guarantee you a lot of people are putting their success in something that they can't control. And that started my whole journey on TikTok. And that will have been where many of you guys will have come into contact with you know, my music and my voice, or my singing videos and stuff like that. And as you can see, since then, a bunch of really cool things have happened. I've had like the video that went viral. The Lewis Capaldi one was like my first mega viral video. Mega viralized, you know. It's got like over 1 million views. You know, so it's like, for me, that's huge. Like, that's really significant. Then like the John Legend thing, where I'd written this little duet with John Legend on TikTok, and then that video blew up. He commented on it, which is really cool and sweet of him. And then I decided to turn that little snippet into a full song, recorded it with Justin. Justin is my friend and hero. He plays keyboard with me live and does all the sorts of stuff. He's one of my favorite people in the world. Anyway, Justin, love you, buddy. We recorded that song within a week and released that, and that's still to this day one of like that song, Made to Fall Apart, that I made in like a couple of minutes. I made the first part of it in a couple of minutes on TikTok, is now one of my like best performing songs and like my most appreciated songs. And I recorded, and released that song within a week. From having spent years recording songs that aren't that good, to being able to do that within a week is like that. It's the coolest thing ever. And I really wanted, one of the things I want to talk about in this show is like how you can get whatever project you're working on, how you can get to the point where things can happen quickly. And I got to be honest, at this point in time, at time of listening, I've basically taken about a month off making content and recording. I had tonsillitis, and I get tonsillitis every year, and it's really shitty because it stops me from singing and all the rest of it. But towards the end of it, I was getting better, and I still have been using it as an excuse to not be posting, to not be recording. Now I'm at full health. I've been traveling around, as I talked about earlier, trying to escape this lockdown. So like, it's been harder for me to make content and stuff, but these are excuses, and I'm still guilty of it. I'm still working on like, you know, I have to remind myself, which is part of the reason I'm doing this podcast, and part of the reason I released that fucking song is to constantly remind myself, like, no, you don't get complacent. Always stop overthinking things, and like, you know, just go, just do, because making decisions is the most important thing. Anyway, where was I? Yes, talking about some of the cool stuff that happened. And then like some of the crazy stuff with Push You Further, the fact that we were able to make a choir of like 200 people through TikTok, and now a lot of you guys who may be listening to this are on that song, and I want to do more of that in the future, and I will be doing more TikTok choir stuff, so you guys can be a part of this project. The Adam Levine thing, the being able, you know, making a video about Maroon 5 and Adam Levine sharing it and then saying that he he'd like to have me support them when they come and play in Australia and get up on stage and sing that song with them. Like, if you'd have told me a year ago that any of this stuff was going to happen, I would have bitten your arm off at the opportunity. And I'm not grateful enough. I'm not good. I'm practicing my gratefulness or whatever. I'm still not grateful enough for those opportunities and those moments, but I'm trying to like remind myself that it's still very cool. And so here we are. Like, you know, I want this to be so that's like the story, right? That's like basically my musical journey up until this point, and including the last month or so of like being sick and then having to play shows through sickness, and like then maybe using that as a bit of an excuse to fall back into my old habits of like overthinking things and not putting stuff out there. So, you know, this is my public promise to like get back into the routine of releasing songs regularly, releasing content regularly, so that you guys can, you know, I want to keep entertaining people and keep giving and keep like, you know, keep the conversation going. Like a huge thing for me is like I try to reply to comments, and when I'm not making videos, I'm not getting comments or like, you know, I'm not getting that much engagement. I'm not getting that much feedback from you guys, and that's huge for me. I want people to feel like I'm like, you know, they're in this with me, and that, you know, if you're engaged in what I'm doing, then I'm here and I'm listening and I want to talk to you. So like, you know, if you have anything you want me to talk about on the show, or like, as you know, something you want me to go in depth on in a podcast, like just shoot me a DM. Always keen to chat. But yeah, so this is what it's going to be. It's going to be me talking about the songs that I'm working on, I might even go over like some of the previous releases. I might go through my album or like my mixtape from the beginning of the year and go through the songs and be like, this is my favorite song because of this. This song is about this. This song is about this. I want to talk about upcoming projects, like people I'm working with. If I'm in a studio working on a recording session with someone, I want to have them chat about some of the stuff. I want to get some of the guys that I work on in terms of video and photos and stuff, like anybody who's involved in this project, I want to have them on this show. I'm going to talk about my influences. I'm going to do album reviews of like my favorite albums and stuff like that. I basically just want this to be like a one-stop shop for everything, but on like a more in-depth level. So if you are invested in the project, if you are loving the music, and like you guys are my fucking heroes, because with your help, like we can get this thing off the ground and, you know, turn this into something that is, you know, will be my job for the rest of my life. And that is, you know, so I can then get on stage and provide those, you know, Sting playing Fields of Gold. So I can provide those Fields of Gold moments for other people in the world. So that's the dream. That's what we're here to do. And we only get there by embracing imperfect. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to talk about today. I don't know what the next episode's going to be. We're just going to have to roll with it. If anyone is still listening, that's a long time to listen to one person talk. I realize that, but I just wanted to get, you know, the story out there. So if you have been following along, this is where we're at. This is what I'm about. And yeah, I really do appreciate you guys. This is the coolest thing ever. If you are listening on like a podcasting device, I'm guessing like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, like if you could give me a review, and like, you know, this takes maybe a minute of your time, it does help. It helps a huge amount. If you could take a second to please just like review this, and that would mean the world to me. I'm not gonna, you know, I try not to ask too much, but I think that would be super helpful, especially like getting this off the ground as a podcast. So if you could do that, I would love you forever. As always, please hit me up on any social media platform. I do my best to respond. And yeah, let's do this. Much love, guys. Take care.